Hey, this is Kristin Shaw with Airport Improvement Magazine, and I'm here with Tom Gebler from SICK Incorporated. How are you, Tom?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. I understand you're based in DC in your home
I am
place
just,
today.
that's correct. Just outside of DC in Maryland.
All right, well, I guess SICK has been in business for about 70 years now, right? You were established in 1946?
That's correct. And today we're about $2 billion globally, something like 10,000 employees worldwide and 750 employees here in the United States.
Tell me a little bit about the name. Where is it?
Well, Sick is the name of our founder, Dr. Erwin Sick. In Germany, it would be pronounced Zick. So the
Oh.
Germans don't necessarily appreciate they don't get why we Americans think it's so funny why it's sick. But so our founder was a engineer just after World War II who founded the company on some optoelectronic sensor principles. And from then, we've grown to a very large, wide, broadly based sensor company. We have systems for reading barcodes that are typically used in like a UPS or a FedEx facility, retailers. We do a lot of machine vision, safety systems for things like automated guided vehicles, automated mobile robots, very wide variety of sensors, for instance. And we also do, obviously, quite a few of the barcode scanning arrays that are typically found in an airport baggage handling system.
Let's talk more about that. Tell me more about what your sensors do within the airport environment and what makes them stand apart.
Well, consider we call them an automatic tag reader or ATR for short. And the ATR is like the eyes of the baggage handling system. The baggage handling system's job is to move bags from the ticket counter through the security and inspection systems that the TSA run, and then outbound systems to get get the bags to the makeup units where they are then accumulated and put on flights. So the ATRs are used to basically track and sort the bags, help sort the bags to their destination through the baggage handling system.
One thing we talked about a little bit is that right now might be a good time for airports to think about some maintenance on their baggage handling systems. What do you recommend and what do you think airports could be doing right now to get ready for the resurgence that's going to happen at some point?
Well, that's a good point. Baggage volumes are very low right now, obviously, and it's really giving the companies who are managing baggage handling systems, maintaining them. It could be an airline is directly responsible for a given baggage handling system. It could be an airport authority, or it could be somebody known as an operations and maintenance provider, O&M provider, that's actually doing the maintenance. Now that the volumes are low, they will eventually increase. We know that. It's time to take a look at the arrays to probably keep them in tip-top shape by giving them a good cleaning, for instance. Luckily, the technology is designed to be pretty robust, that it doesn't need a lot of maintenance. But like most things that are optical, you're going to need to keep the the glass lenses clean. You're going to make sure that the system is tied in correctly to the baggage handling system framework, because tends to be a lot of vibration in these things. So the idea is that you go inspect the array, clean the glass of the scanners or cameras that are used, inspect the connections to the baggage handling system, be it in the form of a tachometer or cabling, and then just go through and give the array a good cleaning to make sure that it's performing correctly. You also want to clean the scanners that look up from the bottom of the conveyor. We actually look at barcodes from 360 degrees, and there are scanners that are below the conveyor belt that accumulate a lot of dust and dirt that is being thrown on it from the conveyor belt above it. So those need to be cleaned on a regular basis. And there's some filters that should be taken out and maintained there. So that's something we recommend. We can provide the procedures for maintenance, what we call preventative maintenance, to any customer who asks.
So let's say it's a large airport and they have multiple baggage systems.
Mhm.
If they called you and said, hey, we'd like to go ahead and do some maintenance now, that sounds like a really good idea. How long would it take to maintain and update some of those things? And is it a joint effort kind of thing where there's some things they could do themselves, or do you need to have a specialist come in and look at those things?
We provide procedures for pretty much anybody who's maintaining the system to do a fairly extensive cleaning of the system. If it has to be performance tuning, that's something they would probably rely on a technician from SICK to come out and do that. But a lot of the general just upkeep in terms of keeping things clean, that can easily be done by the local maintenance provider, including doing an inspection of, again, the various cables, the tachometers, the photo eyes, making sure that the system is properly bolted down. Again, these systems undergo a lot of vibration over the years. So just going and checking, make sure everything's tightened down well. That's something that can be very easily accomplished by anybody who's providing maintenance for the rest of the baggage handling system.
And right now, with the slowdown, it seems like it'd be a really good time to do some of those things where you wouldn't be interrupting operations in a major way.
That's true. A lot of times the maintenance on the arrays will go on at night after the last bag comes down. In a typical airport, that might be about 10:30 at night. First bag typically comes down about 3 or 4:30, depending on the airport, a.m. the next morning. So that's usually a maintenance window. But I suspect that today, with the reduced number of flights, that the maintenance windows are probably opening up to be much, much larger, or they can shunt bags off to additional lines that would then allow them to have clear access to the array when the belt isn't running, because you really don't want to do the preventive maintenance while the belt is still running. You want to shut the belt down.
Right. What kind of technology is available now to keep the lenses clean over time? Like what I'm thinking of is, car windshields and Rain-X. How do you keep
Yeah.
your sensors clean over the years between
Well,
maintenance?
so the bottom scanners, which again accumulate a lot of dust and debris, we have a special set of fans or blowers that move air across the lens uh, on a constant basis. Now they're drawing air through a filter system that needs to be kept clean, and that is something you'll find most airports will check those about once a week, because it is amazing how much dirt and dust gets accumulated. The rest of them, it's pretty straightforward. The lenses for both the cameras and scanners are relatively small, and Windex and a clean lint-free cloth is pretty much all that's required. We ask somebody to maybe vacuum the external scanner or camera cases, because those serve as a heat sink to release energy, or I'm sorry, release heat into the air. So we want to keep those nice and clean so that the exchange of heat is as efficient as possible.
How does temperature and weather affect your sensors?
It's pretty amazing. They have a very, very wide range, temperature range that they tolerate. And what's interesting is that a lot of the bag rooms where equipment is installed in are essentially open to the outside air, so that while they may be covered, you go underneath a lot of airports, and the temperature outside is pretty close to the temperature inside. So if it's very cold outside, it's going to be very cold in the bag room. If it's very hot outside, it's going to be very hot in the bag room. So whatever the temperature extremes you'll find in a typical bag room, the arrays seem to tolerate it just fine. Our temperature ranges are exceed what you would normally find in any given bag room.
I have one more question for you, Tom, and that is about some future technology. What do you think is, or what have you seen coming down the pike that you think is really interesting that some airports may not know about in terms of sensor technology?
Well, I think we have sold for many years laser scanner based technology, which is very tried and true. We've moved into camera based technologies, which can provide a better read rate, and then present the opportunity to use optical character recognition to represent or read what's on the label to help aid sortation if other things can't be read from the label. But we're also doing RFID, which is becoming a kind of a hot topic in airports today, because RFID provides the highest possible read rates. And so you have airlines like Delta who have got on the RFID bandwagon. But we're also seeing a lot of airports who are building new terminals and new baggage handling systems that are specifying RFID be incorporated into the arrays, which we can do. We can add either RFID to our laser array or camera array. So that's one of the things that we're seeing that I think is moving the industry in the next 10 years. We'll see a lot more implementation of RFID.
That's really interesting. High tech stuff is always changing.
It absolutely is. One of the other things I wanted to mention about maintenance, there are a couple other things that we'd like to see customers do at this, during this downtime.
Mm-hmm.
One is the printers that generate the labels that we see in baggage handling systems need their own maintenance. And when you look at a barcoded label that's coming off a kiosk printer, for instance, and if you see a lot of white lines going through the label through areas that should normally be black, that means that that label is probably, or that printer is probably, the print head is end of life, meaning it needs to be changed. So what we would recommend is that the airports and airlines take the time to go through and really maintain all their printers. And there's lots and lots of kiosk printers, lots and lots of printers at the ticket counters, as well as you'll find at the gates. So take the time to go through and examine those, make sure they're in tip-top condition. Additionally, have some people look at their spares package to make sure what they have in stock, and if they've got some spares that have been taken out of service and are waiting repair, to take the time and get those back in so that as volume comes back up again, they have a full complement of spares on board.
And that makes a lot of sense because airports, like everybody else, is trying to conserve funding and make sure that they're ready for when travel starts up again. So you want to make sure that
Absolutely.
your equipment's in good shape, and that'll save you money in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Tom, with SICK Incorporated and Sensors, and we will look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.